Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Devil's Digest game preview as Arizona State gets set to head up to Arlington, Texas to play Iowa State in the Big 12 championship game and hold ASU's first year in the Big 12 conference, ranked last, and now they're here in the championship game. As always, my name is Justin Lestercosa. That's Puppeteer Hod Rubino. And Hod, obviously, this is the biggest game that ASU's played under Kenny Dillingham so far, but he said that the preparation to this game is no different than any other game that they've played so far. What do you expect that preparation to look like, and how do you think the Sun Devils should come into this one?
Yeah, I think that Kenny Dillingham definitely is right to keep this as routine as possible. I think any football player, current or past, would tell you that keeping a routine is something that's very, very important as a football player, as a football coach, for that matter. So when Kenny Dillingham was asked that, do you still feel that this team has to guard against success, or think that's a thing of the past? And his answer was really neither. He says, it's a Monday. The question was asked, obviously, in his weekly press conference day, and we're just preparing for it like we're preparing for any other game. He did admit later in the week that, sure, this game has more consequences than just a regular season game, but nonetheless, that doesn't mean you should change your approach leading up to the game. You basically have a proven formula of success. I mean, it's not broken, don't fix it. You and I were talking here end of October, very beginning of November, talking about this really crucial month of November, a rare November where the team was playing 5 games, and how is ASU going to fare? And ASU obviously won all 5. They're coming into this game, they won 5 games in a row. So whatever approach ASU was taking the whole month of November really should not change for the month of December. It's a proven formula for success.
Yeah, and obviously the big storyline for this offense in particular is no Jordan Tyson for this game. Obviously, ASU's proven that they could rely on that run game, but how do you think the aerial attack changes without their wide receiver one?
I've heard a lot of people saying that they really like ASU in this game if Jordan Tyson was playing. But when you really look at the matchup over here between the ASU offense and the Iowa State defense, there's a lot of things that you really need to keep in mind here that I think really put that Jordan Tyson absence into perspective. Iowa State is the stingiest defense in the Big 12 in terms of scoring defense, 19.6 points on average. They're the number 1 pass defense in the Big 12. Conversely, the 3rd worst run defense in the Big 12. So I said a second ago, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And ASU's approach on offense is absolutely be heavier on the run game versus the pass game, even if you had a healthy Jordan Tyson in the lineup. So honestly, Justin, even if Jordan Tyson was able to play in this game, I don't think he and Sam Levitt and the rest of the ASU receivers were going to go on some kind of shock and awe display via the air, because this Iowa State defense proved all year long that it's not a defense that you're going to pass for 300 or so yards with ease. Now, I know anytime that you see that disparity between the run defense and the pass defense, you can say that maybe part of it is that opponents of the Cyclones all year long were very content running the ball early and often, because the Cyclone defense was not capable of really containing that. And by default, you probably don't pass the ball that much, and maybe that can contribute to a lofty pass defense. I think it's one of those statements where maybe there's some kernel of truth in it, but nonetheless, you really have to give that Iowa State secondary their due, and to think that they could stop or really slow down, I should say, the ASU aerial attack, whether Jordan Tyson was in there or not. But I also think that when ASU approaches this game, again, we talk about just a proven formula of success. You and I talk, seemed like every week, I think, in November, about that quote-unquote keep-away ball approach for Arizona State, dominating the time of possession. That really helps your defense that much more. And against this Iowa State offense, which we'll talk about in a second, that's not a bad approach to take at all. So when you have a run defense such as the Cyclones, which is not really adept at stopping the run all that effectively, you do have, I think, the best running back in the Big 12, one of the best in the country in Cam Scadaboo. You have a running quarterback like Sam Levitt, and Iowa State has proven that they did have some issues with running quarterbacks earlier in the year. You have Kyson Brown, another running back for ASU, coming off a 100-yard game. So you really have all the tools that really lend itself to being really more reliant on the running game as it is. I mean, I won't be surprised if we see 40 or 45 rushing attempts from Sam Levitt and from all the Sun Devil running backs in this game, because again, that's what the matchup really calls for, and there's really no reason to overthink this or really try to take a different approach. But everybody's asking, okay, how do you replace Jordan Tyson in the lineup? Because obviously, it's not like Sam Levitt's going to attempt just 10 or 12 passes on Saturday. Well, a lot of people will point to Xavier Guillory, and Xavier Guillory has definitely had some impressive plays in the last couple of games, scoring on long touchdowns in back-to-back contests. But again, when you look at this Iowa State secondary, is it really going to be a secondary that's going to allow Xavier Guillory to find the same rate of success, to have those explosive plays for a score? I'm not so sure. So this is where I'm going to look for slot wide receiver Melquan Stalvo. When I look for tight end Shimon Mateo. Even maybe Jake Smith in a reserve role. He did return to practice this week. Maybe those are the players that can really be effective in the short and medium routes for ASU's aerial attack. And again, I think that when you're talking about running the ball, you can also really have running plays by default when you have just a short passing plays to really complement that as well. And look, and maybe you have some, I don't know if rabbits out of the hat would be the right word over here, but you got Troy O'Meary that's going to replace Jordan Tyson on the first team at wide receiver. And you and I saw him all the way back in spring practice. I mean, that guy can make some impressive plays when healthy. And that ankle injury that he suffered back in the spring really held him back. I think everybody was expecting more from him. Well, here's his opportunity right now to shine when you don't have Jordan Tyson playing ahead of you, getting 15 targets a game or whatever the number was in recent weeks. And I think maybe the biggest rabbit of the hat, and again, this is potentially rabbit out of the hat, is Malik McClain, somebody who had a pretty good fall camp. The decision was made to redshirt him just because he was behind the curve as a post-spring addition. Did also miss the first handful or so of practices in fall camp. But you and I, back in August, we saw what he's capable of doing. So even if you have guys like McClain and or Miri, just having one or two explosive play in the passing game, maybe that's all that you need to try to make up the difference and really minimize that drop-off for not having Jordan Tyson in the lineup. But again, I just feel that the way this matchup is figuring out with the Iowa State defense, with or without Jordan Tyson in the lineup, I expect a heavy dose of the ground attack for ASU. Again, it's something that's been working for them very well for weeks now.
Yeah, this is an ASU defense that time and time again have made momentum swinging plays, and in the last 7 games have recorded at least one takeaway, but 2 1,000-yard wide receivers that they're going up against. How do you think ASU could limit that explosive offense? Yeah,
I do agree, Justin. This is a matchup that, at least to me, is intriguing the most because you do have Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel each with 1,000 yards receiving. You have their quarterback for Iowa State, Rocco Beck, who has over 3,000 yards passing, 20 touchdowns, 8 interceptions against a secondary, which, or I should say an ASU defense that is second in the Big 12 with 14 interceptions. So this has been a very opportunistic ASU defense pretty much all year long. So I don't know if Iowa State really has a distinct advantage here in their passing game, but obviously it's an aspect of their offense that you definitely have to respect and respect quite a much. I think there are a couple of things that can come to play. When you look at Rakovec's season, he's somebody that is prone for mistakes. If I'm not mistaken, he has 3 pick sixes on the year. So maybe that's a byproduct of having such a good passing offense that you do take more chances than usual, and some of those chances do end up being errors. But I also feel that in terms of their passing game, I mean, it's something that ASU can slow down because their base is a 4-2-5. They always have that extra man in coverage. And I definitely trust defensive coordinator Brian Ward to come up with a scheme that he can drop more players into coverage, really flood the zone with defenders, maybe try to confuse the Iowa State passing game with some complex and creative looks. And if ASU can really get as much pressure up front as possible with just 4 players, that's something that really can help them quite a bit. Now, look, I mean, we know that ASU, in terms of pass rush, is not really that one of the stalwarts of the conference just in that specific aspect. But if you can compensate for maybe not that adequate of a pass rush, but just having more players in coverage, I think that can slow down the Iowa State offense, just that much. This offense really just reminds you somewhat of ASU in terms of how explosive they can be. Although again, with ASU, it's more on the ground. Iowa State, it's more in the air. But if you can really have the right approach. And again, if this defense, especially the secondary, can be opportunistic as it's been really all year long, I think it can help ASU quite a great deal on Saturday.
Obviously this is a game with massive stakes. Not only is the winner going to be crowned the first Big 12 champion of this new iteration of the conference, but secure themselves a spot in the new 12-team playoff format as likely the only Big 12 representative and potentially securing themselves a first-round bye into the quarterfinals as one of those 4 teams. How do you think this game shapes out with both of these teams competing for something like this?
Well, first of all, I'm going to go off on a little tangent that you said, Justin, and obviously not directed at you, directed at the playoff committee. To me, it's an absolute joke that the loser of this game is not going to be in the new expanded format of the 12-team playoffs. And the argument even is taken one step further, where the winner of this game on Saturday has to wonder if Boise State, for example, is going to be ranked over them and they're going to get the first round bye going to straight into the quarterfinals rather than a champion of a Power 4 conference. So I know there's some kind of conspiracy theory over there, maybe in a good way if you're a Big 12 fan, saying that the committee is just messing around with the Big 12 and whoever's going to win this game is likely going to be in the quarterfinals with the first round bye, or maybe at worst be able to host a playoff game in the first round. We'll see about that, and I really hope. And again, it doesn't matter if it's ASU or Iowa State. If you're the winner of this game on Saturday, at a minimum, you deserve a home game, and I think you can definitely make the argument that you deserve to be in the quarterfinals as one of the top 4 teams in the playoffs. But that aside, I think that ASU really does exemplify one of the foundations of the game of football, and complexity, creativity is all great, and obviously is also an aspect of the game. But to me, sometimes it comes down to the meat and potatoes, if you will, of the game: running the ball and stopping the run. Which team does those 2 elements better than the other? And I think that Arizona State definitely has the advantage over Iowa State. Maybe some argue would have a bigger advantage in those 2 elements over Iowa State. As I mentioned earlier, I know a lot of people saying, well, if Jordan Tyson was playing, we would definitely pick ASU to win, maybe even a comfortable win. ASU, by the way, does not know how to win comfortably, which is fine. The game goes in the W column at the end of the day. But as I mentioned earlier, I just feel like the way this matchup is shaping up with the Cyclone secondary, I don't know if Jordan Tyson being in the lineup or not being in the lineup will really matter that much. And if you can exploit the greatest weakness of the Iowa State defense, and really every game you go into, you are trying to exploit the biggest weakness of your opponent. When this becomes the run defense for Iowa State, I think Arizona State, with their caliber of running backs, with their running quarterback in Sam Levitt, definitely has a very distinct advantage there. I think ASU is coming in with a lot of momentum, winners of 5 in a row. Again, that line between cockiness and the confidence has not been crossed, and I think it's only poetic justice, Justin, that the rags to riches, the basement to the penthouse game, does come full circle, if you will, where a team that was picked last in the Big 12 media preseason poll is going to be the champion of the Big 12. I think it's only fitting. So it's going to be a great environment in Arlington, Texas. Yes, it's going to be another white knuckle affair, but I do feel ASU can win this game 28-24.
Well, thank you for all your insight. The entire Devil's Digest crew will be up in Arlington, Texas to catch all the action. So to stay tuned on all the coverage, go to DevilsDigest.com. Follow Devil's Digest on Twitter at Devil's Digest. We'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching.